Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanishalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. In this session, we'll be discussing from the 23rd verse of the 12th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Pitamaha Samasamye Prasade Girishopamaha Ashrayas Sarvabhutanam Yatha Devo Ramashrayaha. The meaning of this verse is, this child will be like his grandfather Yudhishthira or Brahma in equanimity of mind. He will be munificent like the Lord of the Kailasha hill, Shiva. He will be the resort of everyone like the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana, who is even the shelter of the Goddess of Fortune. So further description of the wonderful qualities of child Parikshit are being given by the Brahmanas to King Yudhishthira. So here three comparisons are made. In mental equanimity, he will be like his grandfather Yudhishthira or grandfather Brahma. And in being munificent, very generous, he'll be like Lord Shiva. And he'll be the ultimate resort of everyone, like Lord Narayana is the resort of everyone, including Goddess of Fortune. So Srila Prabhupada has explained a little elaborately in the purport how these personalities who are referred to are well known for their specific extraordinary qualities. So Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, mental equanimity refers both to Maharaj Yudhishthira and to Brahma, the grandfather of all living beings. According to Sridhar Swami, one of the commentators on the Bhagavatam, one of the previous acharyas, the grandfather referred to is Brahma. How is Brahma the grandfather of all of us? Brahma's son, Swayambhuva Manu. That Swayambhuva Manu is the father of mankind. So all human beings have Swayambhuva Manu as their father, and Swayambhuva Manu's father is Brahma. Therefore, Brahma is the grandfather of all human beings. In that way, Brahma is referred to as the grandfather in this particular comparison. Pitamaha Samaha Samye. And then, according to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, another great acharya, previous acharya in our Sampradaya, he has written a commentary on the Bhagavatam. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, the grandfather referred to here is Maharaj Yudhishthira himself. Now, Srila Prabhupada says, of course, Yudhishthira is the grandfather of Parikshit. Parikshit's father is Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu is the son of Arjuna, and Arjuna's brother Yudhishthira. So therefore, Yudhishthira is in the position of the grandfather of child Parikshit. Now Srila Prabhupada says something very interesting. In both cases, the comparison is equally good, because both of them are recognized representatives of the Supreme Lord. Both Brahma and Yudhishthira are recognized representatives of the Supreme Lord. Thus, both of them have to maintain mental equanimity, being engaged in welfare work for the living being. Brahma is engaged in the welfare of all the living beings in the whole universe. That is Brahma's position. And Yudhishthira, as the emperor of the world, he was always engaged in welfare work of the citizens of the whole world. So, Srila Prabhupada says, to be able to do welfare work, any responsible executive agent at the top of administration has to tolerate different types of onslaughts from the very persons for whom he works. Example is given by Srila Prabhupada. Brahma was criticized even by the gopis, the highest perfectional devotees of the Supreme Lord Krishna. The gopis were dissatisfied with the work of Brahma because Brahma, as creator of this particular universe, created eyelids which obstructed their seeing Lord Krishna. How were the eyelids obstructing our seeing? That Prabhupada explains. They could not tolerate, the gopis could not tolerate a moment's blinking of the eyes, for it kept them from seeing their beloved Lord Krishna. When we blink, we have to keep blinking the eyes. So when we blink for a moment, we are not able to see the object of affection. So the gopis felt that why has Brahma created these eyelids which momentarily stop us from seeing Krishna? So what to speak of others who are naturally very critical of every action of a responsible man? Even the gopis, the perfectional devotees, they criticize Brahma for making these eyelids which block their vision of Krishna. So what to speak of others? So the conclusion is that anyone in a position of responsibility has to have that equanimity of mind to do the welfare work in spite of criticism from the very people whom they are trying to do welfare activity. Similarly, Maharaj Yudhishthira had to cross over many difficult situations created by his enemies, and he proved to be the most perfect maintainer of mental equanimity in all critical circumstances. So both are fitting comparisons for equanimity of mind. The next, Lord Shiva is described. Lord Shiva is a celebrated demigod who awards gifts to beggars. His name is therefore Ashutosha, or one who is very easily pleased. He is also called Bhutanatha, or the Lord of the common folk, who are mainly attached to him because of his munificent gifts, even without consideration of the after effects. Shiva is liberal in giving gifts to whoever approaches him and begs for some particular benediction. Shiva liberally gives that. So, it is described here by Srila Prabhupada. Ravana was very attached to Lord Shiva, and by easily pleasing him, Ravana became so powerful that he wanted to challenge the authority of Lord Rama. By Shiva's grace, Ravana became powerful, and he misused this power in challenging Lord Rama. Ravana was never helped by Lord Shiva when Ravana was fighting against Rama, because the Supreme Lord is not only Lord of everyone, he is also the Lord of Shiva. So when the battle was going on between Ravana and Rama, Shiva could not help Ravana. Then once Shiva awarded a benediction to one Asura by name Vrikasura, and this benediction was an awkward benediction, and it was also very disturbing. Vrikasura became empowered by the grace of Lord Shiva to vanquish anyone's head simply by touching the head. This is a benediction that Vrikasura asked Shiva. Whosoever head I touch, that person's head should immediately get cut off, just by its touch. So Shiva knew that this Asura is going to misuse this benediction. So when Shiva was refusing to give such a horrible benediction. And Vrikasura became very, very restless, and he started cutting off the portions of flesh, his own flesh, and offering it to Shiva in sacrifice. So Shiva took compassion upon this foolish asura and stopped him from killing himself in that way. And then Shiva had to give this stubborn asura, Vrikasura, the benediction he wanted. Then what did this fellow do? This Vrikasura, after he got the benediction, although Shiva was the one who gave him the benediction, this cunning asura, he wanted to make an experiment of the power of this benediction by touching the head of Lord Shiva. Thus, Lord Shiva had to take shelter of Vishnu to save himself from this trouble. And Lord Vishnu, what did Vishnu do? When Vrikasura went chasing, then Shiva took shelter of Vishnu, and Vishnu confronted this Vrikasura. And by the illusory energy called Yogamaya, Vishnu was able to ask Vrikasura to make an experiment of this benediction by touching his own head. So Vrikasura, under the illusion, he touched his own head to test whether the benediction is actually working or not. And in this way, Vishnu saved the whole world from the trouble being created by this cunning beggar of the demigods. So, why Prabhupada is narrating all this is because Lord Shiva never denies anyone any sort of gift. He is very liberal. He is therefore the most generous among the givers of benediction. Shiva is the most generous. Although sometimes some kind of mistake also happens in granting benediction. Then the next description is about Lord Vishnu. It is described here. Rama means the goddess of fortune. Yatha Devo Ramashrayah. And her shelter, Rama Devi or Lakshmi Devi, her shelter is Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu is the maintainer of all living beings. There are innumerable living beings, not only on the surface of this planet, but also in all other hundreds of thousands of planets in this universe. All of them are provided with all necessities of life for the progressive march towards the end of self-realization. The Upanishads say, Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman. That is the position of the Supreme Lord Vishnu or Krishna. That it is only the Supreme Lord who maintains all living beings. But in spite of this protection by the Lord, Srila Prabhupada says, on the path of sense gratification, these living beings are put into difficulty by the agency of Maya, the illusory energy. When we violate the laws of nature or laws of God, and we encroach on somebody else's property, or we give trouble to others unnecessarily, then the illusory energy actually punishes such wrongdoers. And it's only under illusion that the living beings who are desirous of enjoying in this material world, they are traversing the path of a false plan of economic development. Such economic development is never successful because it is illusory. So instead of seeking directly the protection of the goddess of fortune, one should seek the protection of Vishnu, because Even the goddess of fortune is sheltered by Vishnu. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada says, only Vishnu or his pure devotee can give protection to everyone. And therefore, it is predicted that Parikshit Maharaj, who was protected by Vishnu, himself would give all protection to people who wanted to live under his rule. In this way, it is being predicted about Parikshit. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.